Why does this room look progressively darker and darker?
Because those lights are off.
It makes that much of a difference? No.
Yes.
Helps.
So it increases
Is it
at
recording
5%.
Is it recording now?
Yep.
Yeah, both are recording.
You probably could aim that at the ceiling and get more output out of it.
So as usual, this is all screwed up. Our very professional recording capabilities. So what happened this morning? One of your camera decided not to work, went on strike. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Your lithium battery died.
I still don't know what's going on, so it's either a simple fix where my
Did
battery
it die
just went
before?
bad. It has. It did before, remember? During the
Is it-
bill.
Did you buy that new?
Careful with your bottle, Jerry.
Huh?
Did you buy that new?
What?
The camera?
Yes, I bought it new.
Is it still on warranty?
Under warranty?
Yeah, it's still under warranty.
So get a new battery.
So
Yeah, but you do realize that when I send it off to warranty, I have nothing to work with.
That's
so
why
we're
you gotta
using-
have spares.
So we're using
That's why
somebody's
you
cell
gotta be
phone.
rich, Philip, because no one has 2 spare cameras for their
So what are we using for the
You have
second camera?
multiple. You have multiple bodies.
It's your
which I
cell
sold.
phone. So wait a
So
minute.
that's your own damn fault, isn't it? You had
I
multiple.
had to
spares.
sell it. It was the pandemic.
So we're using whose cell phone to record you guys?
Jerry's, because I
Jerry's
don't
cell
trust
phone.
my cell phone. My cell phone's old.
And Jerry's cell phone is working okay. All right. Well,
He has the latest iPhone.
it's a long and continuous
Wait.
saga.
I'm driving a 5-year-old car. You're driving like I don't know, 15-year-old car,
Mm-hmm.
and Jerry has the latest cell phone,
And the latest motorcycle.
and he makes less money than us.
Well, we
He
don't
has
know that.
priorities, man. He's born to be
Adrian
wild.
could be
Adrian,
Jacking
you're
us
paying this
both.
kid.
Well, I guess we'll get started given how crazy this is. Hi everyone, I'm Adrian from Audio Excellence Canada. That's Jay and Philip, my trusty sidekicks. And then Jerry, who's behind the camera and refuses to be seen. One of these days we should turn the camera over just to show that he actually exists. Nobody believes. Anyway, we're going to talk today about the Synthesis Audio Roma 753 AC integrated tube amplifier. Seriously, why can't these manufacturers come up with
They're Italian.
But I mean, how do you remember numbers
Well,
and
think-
names like this?
Think about it: Sonus, Faber, Homage, Tradition,
Yes, but
Serafino.
it's you just have to remember Amati, Serafino.
No, but it's
you know.
Homage. Tradition is actually part of the
Yeah, but you
name.
don't have to remember all. They just remember the Amati or Serafino, whatever it is. This is a number that to
Why
me,
can't it be like BMW Series 1?
Yeah, it makes no sense at all. This is 753 AC. This. You know who's worse? Audio Quest, and I love their cables. Right. So, Bill, if you're watching this, how do you come up with names for? I mean, I understand you've got literally 10,000 SKUs, so you got to come up with, but it makes no sense to me at all. Anyway, we're
Well, I do have an AQ story, just a really quick one.
all right.
My client just recently bought 2 Hurricane power cords,
Yes,
and he sent me a 1-word response
Yeah.
the other
I
day.
hate you.
No, that's 3 words. He said, "Wow,"
Wow isn't good or wow isn't bad.
like great.
Wow, snake oil.
Watch your tongue there, boy.
No, I love Audio Quest cables. I really do. But boy, I can never remember what the models are, which one is more expensive versus cheaper. I don't know how to do this.
Nordos is not much better.
It's true. Nordus is not much better. As a matter of fact, probably just as bad, but they don't have anywhere near as many SKUs, right? Stock keeping unit, by the way, for those of you wondering what the hell SKU is. SKU, stock keeping unit. Anyway, coming back to Synthesis Audio. So last week we did a review of the little baby, and God knows what that model is called.
Synthesis 1. No.
It's 25 watts, pure class A. I really like it.
Roma 96 DC, plus.
There you go. I really liked it. Jay didn't particularly care for it. I think Philip liked it. I really liked it. It reminded me of.
I liked
all
it better
things.
when they had like one word names, like Nimbus
Yes.
was a very well-known synthesis.
So then Richard, our friend, who's the distributor, brought the bigger one, and I say bigger. It's double the size. So the little integrated Class A is a half-size chassis unit, small, cute. This one is I guess for a tube amplifier, it's a full size, heavy, beautifully finished with, I want to call it the Wenge wood panel. Absolutely gorgeous. I really like it. Anyway, rated at 50 watts per channel. Now this is push-pull. So it also uses 2 EL34s per side or 6 CA7s. And it uses 2 12 AU7s per side. So 4 small tubes, 4 large tubes. And in Canada, it's $49.95 Canadian. All right, who wants to go first?
I went first last time.
All right, Philip.
Well, we're not gonna play.
No rock, paper, scissors. I'm too.
But if I answer this question, then you will have nothing to say.
It's okay. I always have something to say. I'll pull it out of my ass. Let's go. Go.
You pull it out of your posterior.
Yes. Go on. Your turn.
Oh my god. I mean,
Philip
I
actually
didn't-
has notes. First time he's actually.
No. These
brought
are not.
notes.
These are actually not notes. These are just all the tracks I sort of played.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But there are notes associated with it because I have a really good memory.
Yeah, I don't. That's why I have to have notes.
I was gonna keep notes and I was gonna write down stuff for every track, but then I thought then it'll be more than one page long and I didn't want to have to read through all of it. But generally, I don't really remember all the tracks I play. I mean, it's sort of true, even though I play mostly the same tracks. So as you know, I liked the little one. I tend to like slightly euphonic, warm sounding, especially Class A type amplifiers and tubes especially. Basically what I own. Because I have a series of push-pull, trial Class A tube amplifiers, low-powered. And for the most part, for all of you who don't know, when you're using an amplifier, you're not really using thousands of watts or even hundreds of watts. Mostly it's less than 10 watts. You can easily measure this by measuring the distance between the speaker and where you sit and the rated efficiency of the speaker, which is generally speaking, about anywhere from mid-80s to maybe the low 90s. And you can do simple math and progression of that to get to the kind of levels that, or the wattage that you're using. So I measured, and of course I play it pretty loud where I'm sitting, which is about 6-7 feet away from the speaker. As I set it up in the other room, I'm playing it like 91, 92, up to 95 dB. That's pretty loud from where I'm sitting, which is 2 times the distance of the rated output. So I know I'm really pushing the amp hard, but at the same time, most of the time, we're probably only pushing 4 to 5 watts. So, I easily verified this by using both amps and pushed it into clipping and measured how much output I was getting. And the difference between the 2 amps was about 3 dB. So the bigger amp played 3 dB louder, which is double the power. So from 25 watts to 50 watts. So let me tell you this. When I first pulled the amp out of the box and turned it on, I really liked it. It had this kind of warm, very smooth, rich sound. And I sent Richard, our friend, a text message saying, hey, you were right. This is much better than the little amp. And lo and behold, obviously, once it broke in a bit, it changed. And so my story is in 2 parts. Last night when I came in to listen to it, I had been listening to Neil Young
Tell
in
them
the
what
car.
time you came in.
About 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I set it up. I set 3 amplifiers up and the speakers. I pulled
I
it
get a
up.
buzz from my cell phone that somebody's opened the front door
Oh.
at 10 o'clock. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I had to set up. There was nothing set up. I hadn't actually had a chance to listen to it once we had it kind of broken in. We're very busy in the store, because, we sell things.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to the thing, and in the car, I've been listening to Neil Young and really digging it because it sounds great in my car. MP3s in a car is almost a perfect combination. Go into that another day, but there's a good reason for it. So I'm listening to Neil Young. I'm thinking like, I gotta listen to Neil Young. So I pulled out a whole bunch of Neil Young, and it was awful. So it was not very good on the big Roma, and I was wondering why, because I was enjoying it so much in the car. I put on another standard of mine. I played some Cindy Church, and it was much better. Now that recording, I've been using it for 30 years to test systems, to figure out what's going on, because it can be a bit on the edgy side and a little bit bright. And it wasn't any of those things. It was just much better. Her vocals were a bit more forward. There was great dimensionality, and it was just had a nice warm tonal balance. It didn't have the ultimate clarity I've heard in other systems with this these same tracks. But I played about 10 tracks I normally don't, because I don't really use those anymore. So here I was a little disappointed. I'm listening to the synthesis, and I'm thinking like, I A-B'd it with the smaller one, the 96. And the 96 is just beautiful and euphonic, and it's Class A, and it broke in really nicely, and it has this kind of warm glow about it. There's like, and the bigger one basically didn't have any of those things. It was a bit flatter sounding. Not that it wasn't beautiful, but it just wasn't quite magical the way Class A is. I was really disappointed. So I thought, what do I do? I started going through my track list, Annette, Ashvik, Chris Stapleton, Gregory Porter, little Nat King Cole, London Grammar. These are all our standard tracks, especially the ones I use, and they're all really well recorded. And once I put those tracks on, it all came together. So it suggests an interesting kind of, for a lot of those things that we listen to, we really use good tracks. And that makes all the difference. When you listen to something that's really well recorded, that's going to come through. It actually makes the whole system better. So when we do the demos, we use tracks we know make the system that really sound great. They always sound great. It doesn't really matter what you put it on. It always sounds great. It's a little secret, guys. Use really good tracks, you'll have really good music. And this is exactly what happened with the synthesis here, which goes on to suggest that it's actually quite neutral sounding. More neutral than most tube amps. More true, more honest. That's a characteristic that's not actually easy to kind of discern. But when I put on really great tracks, there I was crying again when Hey Laura came on. I could understand everything that he was feeling. And I felt that kind of connectedness I'm always looking for. And so this amp does it. It's just that if you have stuff that's not quite as good, like maybe Billy Joel, you won't quite be able to delve into the music as you normally do. It does hold itself back a little bit. It doesn't try to impart a kind of color that's not there. So that's not an easy thing for a tube amp to do, because it's actually still kind of tubey. So yeah, 2 big thumbs up. I like it. I would rate it 4 out of 5.
I like how you took us through this canyon twist, right? Start out not liking it, and then not liking it, and then loving it. I like that.
Typical writers.
What, boy meets girl?
Jen?
Well, I agree with what Philip said. No, I do. And if I start my own
One of these days, I'm going to start thinking that you don't actually do any listening, and you just wait for Philip to say something.
Well, no,
and then you just...
I go first sometimes. So, and Philip agrees sometimes, and sometimes
right.
I don't. So, I think that clears it up. So when I first got into tube amplifiers, things developed. I really liked the fact that I could play Billy Joel and not cringe. And then when I heard about really good solid state amplifiers, and I got solid state amplifiers, it didn't matter how good it was, especially the ones before solid state came a long way. Mm-hmm. So the ones before, I would always find tracks that I would usually enjoy to change over time. So I'll get an amplifier and my tracks would change to whatever sounded good with the amplifier and not what I usually listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And this often happened with speakers that I had, amplifiers that I had. And at one point I said, enough is enough. I want to enjoy the music that I usually listen to and not so much the good recordings.
Right. Because some of them aren't really good music; they're just good recordings.
And then I did, and then I come to work, and I did enjoy well-recorded tracks, and I began to appreciate the both sides. And some fall in between, and some fall more heavily towards, the reproduction of, for the lack of better words, making poor recordings sounding good.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other side, which is very, very, neutral, revealing, whatever you want to call it, that really dissects the recording, and therefore if you play something that's not very well recorded, you hear all that. And then if you play something very well recorded, you hear more. And then some fall in between, like I said. Well, a synthesis, in my opinion, I was shocked in the beginning because unlike Philip, I went the other direction. Because we were in the store, I immediately put on Liberty by Anna Ashvik.
Yeah.
And a bunch of demo tracks that we had, all well recorded. And I pulled the speakers out of the room because the speakers, we want to have an ideal setup. I measured everything and I sat down and listened to it. And I remember I went to Adrian and I said, Adrian, you have to hear this when you get a chance. Because the soundstage was just incredible. Everything was airy. There was a slight modern touch to it, like we said in the previous one with the small one as well. But it was much more refined. The high frequency was much more refined. Everything was twinkling, and it was more three-dimensional. More tubing in the mid-range, and yet the bass was quick, fast, compared to most tube amplifiers. And so I was like, wow, this is a winner. For $5,000 made in Italy, this is something that I would consider, myself, to have in my system. And then, like Philip, that changed drastically when towards the end of the day, I went back after burning in the synthesis the entire day. I went back to listen to it again, and I put on some tracks that that I enjoyed because I wanted to get more hearing out of it. And behold, I was like, wait, that's not what I heard. What's going on? And so, and I quickly realized, just like Philip, that this amplifier is very revealing, despite being a tube amplifier. It has really a black, dark background, like some of the solid states, and it has that kind of, if someone told me this was like a hybrid, I would believe it. Because the bass was quick, very quick for a tube amplifier, yet it did have that characteristic of a mid-range tonality that I was looking for a tube amplifier in the mid-range. Yet the high frequency had the modern touch to it. So if you're looking to play audiophile tracks, well recorded tracks, and that's your thing, this amplifier is a definite winner. But if you're looking to play tracks that's Billy Joel.
It won't make everything sound beautiful, but beautiful things sound really beautiful with it.
Yeah. And it's mostly the sibilances that bothered me with the Billy Joel track in particular, because that track can get a little bit too much. So it doesn't necessarily overemphasize or de-emphasize anything. It just basically, like Philip said, it's true to the source, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I think we generally agree, except for the bad recordings part. I don't think that. So when you came in, I think Julio was still playing. I came in again as usual very early this morning and wanted to get more listening in. So first of all, a couple of really interesting things. I had the amplifier playing since roughly about 4 o'clock this morning. And by the time I stopped auditioning and switched over to another amplifier, just for comparison, before I switched over, I put my ear to the speaker, to the tweeter. Now, normally with solid stereo tubes, you hear a little bit of noise. This thing, almost nothing. I literally couldn't hear anything. And then when you put your hand on the transformer covers, it was warm. Well, not hot, but reasonably warm. So that generally suggests that the transformers are well spec'd. They're big enough to handle the kind of power that I was playing it through. So as I mentioned, I was playing Coolio. I was playing a bunch of pretty raw recordings. Yeah, if it's a bad recording, it's not going to hide it. But I didn't find that it either emphasized how bad the recording is or made it worse. It just didn't hide it. In that sense, maybe we expect tube amps to do certain things that this one doesn't, but I don't find it a negative. I think that that's a good thing. If I wanted a tube amplifier to make everything sort of sweeter, more relaxed, more beautiful, personally, I probably wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't sell it in the store. Now, having said that, there may be another tube line coming in for us to try, so I may have to eat my words. Because I want something to be neutral enough that great recordings are wonderful, and when I say great recordings, I mean a combination of the recording quality and the interpretation. But at the same time, I don't want the knife to be so sharp that a mediocre recording that has incredible music becomes unlistenable. And I guess, Jay, you found that, but for me, I did not find any particular recording so far, and obviously I'm sure I have some, that bad that I couldn't listen to it. So I purposely picked up a couple of recordings I generally wouldn't play on quote unquote high-end recording, high-end system, and blasted, but I blasted Coolio really loud. I played, God, I can't remember what it was the other day that I played. Anyway, the point is I didn't find it as bad maybe as Jay did. But I would agree with Willip more in that the better the recording, the more it comes out more beautifully, more exceptionally, if you will. I'm actually very impressed by this integrated amplifier. Overall, I would still, I think, pick the little one.
I love the little one.
Yeah, overall, it doesn't have enough power for a lot of speakers. It doesn't have enough power for the times I want to crank. But it's got a bit of a 3D magic that the big one doesn't quite have. It's hard.
I'll give you the perfect example of what I'm talking about. Because I played the Civil Wars, that Billie Jean track, right? That was a great track.
Yeah.
It will make any system sound pretty. So as a counterpoint to it, I immediately put on the real Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. And, it was unlistenable. It was really fantastic in that there was so much detail and the production was so crisp and it was just so wrong. Maybe it sounds great on the dance floor or in my car or whatever, but not in that system. Everything that we don't like about that kind of really commercial production was evident. So the amplifier is more than capable of revealing all there is to a recording, which is not common in something, in that kind of a price range. And I'm just basically saying stuff below.
What speakers did you listen to it with?
I listened to it. Oh, so here's the other thing. I listened to it with Sonata 8s.
Yeah. Okay.
So, which to me is actually a very neutral sounding, a little bit bland, because compared to the more expensive Sonus Fabers, not quite as beautiful. But it was presented in a way that was warm and rich and wonderful. I thought, the amp, that's how I knew it was tubey, because it was applying that kind of patina to it that you normally wouldn't hear out of that speaker. So there was other things going on, but in the overall grand presentation, especially when you're playing a heavily processed track, you hear all the mistakes.
Well, I guess that's it for us. Thank you very much for watching. If you like us, please subscribe, turn on the notification, and share the videos. And we look forward to seeing you again next time. I'm Adrian, Willip and Jay, Audio Excellence Canada. See you soon. Bye-bye.